water?
I'll take a water. Thanks.
All right, we're starting to get some people on. We're going to give it 2-3 minutes here before we really get started, but let me know if you can hear me all right. You see up in the top left how many people we got.
Yep.
There we go. Jim, I see your question, mono or braid for slide divers. I guess my question would be, are you using them multi-purpose, like spring, summer, and fall? If you are, then braid for sure. If you're just using them for extreme shallow water situations, like fishing around the pier heads for fall kings or spring browns or whatever, then I would use mono. That's kind of the way I look at it. All right, starting to get some people on here. Make sure you smash that like button, the thumbs up button, I should say. Make sure you hit that button so we get a bunch of people to be notified that this thing's live. As I said, we'll wait a couple minutes to get started. You can see I got my sidekick over here, Connor. Well, I might have to open that a little bit. It's going to get like ridiculous in here.
Yeah. I'm good either way. This is a
Shouldn't be too bad.
breathable shirt.
Yeah, I'm not a giant fan of the light bites myself, Jim. I don't feel like on Lake Michigan we need those. They are, I think, a great feature for fishing, for fishing Lake Erie for walleyes. Oliver 880, I think it is. The only good roller rod available out on the market right now is the Okuma Convector Pro. They make that in an 8-foot and a 9-foot, so that would be your option. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you guys have been able to get all fishing. If you're going out of Sheboygan tomorrow, I'm going to give the report later, but I'd say 120 to 150. Yeah, do not get that Big Lake Series roller rod that's got really big, gaudy, heavy rollers. You want the Convector Pro roller rod if you're going to go with rollers. If you're going to go with open eyes, the Big Lake is fine. Sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. And again, if you haven't subscribed to the page, that would be great if you get a chance to subscribe to the Russell's Fishing Tech page. Kind of a unique night already. I was up in the parking lot when Connor got here. There's a bunch of young kids that hang out in the marina parking lot up there day in and day out. And I was walking up to my car before waiting for Connor, and some vehicle, one of the kids hit their buddy or something, or their girlfriend, and sent her into the tree, and there was just all kinds of chaos up there. So I walked over there to make sure she was all right while they were calling the police and the ambulance came. So that's why we were kind of just a minute or two late here, kind of getting going and getting on live. So, but all right, well, we're going to get started. First of all, to introduce my guest, this is Connor Bowen. What's the name of your charter fishing?
A Real Dream Guide Service.
A Real Dream Guide Service. So I met Connor a few years ago. He came into my store. Obviously, he's a young man who has a major passion for the Great Lakes salmon fishing market, which is awesome. Connor's got a drive, and he's got sort of an advantage that I talk a lot about in my salmon schools that I don't think a lot of people use to their ability as much as they should, which is he's got a trailerable boat, in that 18-foot size range, and he can go to the fish. I like to fish a lot of different areas, as you guys know. A lot of you will see me from time to time down in Milwaukee, Port Washington, Illinois, Sturgeon Bay, Kiwani, wherever. And every year, multiple different ports, I see this guy with a cooler full of fish at the cleaning station. He knows what he's doing. But also he knows what the advantages that he has, which is he can hook his boat up to his truck, he can drive his truck to the fish and go fishing. So instead of in a situation like this where we're on the Vendetta 2.0 tonight and we have this boat docked, in the Sheboygan Marina tied to the dock, it's got a lot of great amenities, it's big, it handles the water well. But if they're not biting out of the port of Sheboygan, this boat doesn't leave a lot then. The guys don't like to go if they're not biting. So in return, you have the advantage of you get to go where the fish are, which is great. So let's kind of get started on that topic. So what I wanted to start talking to Connor about, and he'll chime in on some of this other stuff we're going to talk about tonight, but the main topic I want to talk about, at least initially, was the Salmon-Rama Big Five. It's something that you're obviously pretty passionate in, you get excited about. There's a lot of people that do. I did a video the last 2 years basically talking about how to win that Big Five. I think it's a strategy type event. Any of you at home that don't know what that is, the Salmon-Rama is a 9-day derby in which they have multiple sort of inner tournaments inside that tournament or that derby, and one of the inner tournaments is called the Big Five, where you can basically catch and weigh as many fish as you want over 9 days, and you accumulate your biggest 5 fish bag, if you want to call it, over that 9 days, right?
Yep.
Okay. So going into an event like that, what is kind of your strategy? Like before it starts, like what are you telling yourself? What are you thinking? Like how are you approaching that event?
Like you said, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is where is the big school of big fish? Because there's always a very large school of big fish somewhere in some port that time of year. And sometimes they're still in Sheboygan, but a lot of the time it seems like they're up north, whether it be Algoma, Sturgeon Bay, or even farther, where I ended up this year in Fairport. So,
well, I think one of the things that maybe isn't thought about as much is, you're right, where is the big school of fish? But maybe even just as important, where is the big untapped school of fish? Because I'd make an argument that the last 2 years, Sheboygan has had as good a big king fishing during the Salmon-Rama as anywhere else overall, but there's 100 boats fishing them every day.
Right.
Where maybe Bailey's Harbor or Fairport or, I think it's called Rowley's up there or whatever, north, like by some of the Shoal and Can and that up there. Some of those areas that maybe only have 4 or 5 boats in the landing on a weekday or weekend even, because they're just not large communities of anglers, right? They're smaller areas. So not only are you looking for, where is there a big school of big fish, but on top of it, which ones are not as pressured that you have a better opportunity to catch. Because if you got to split that big school with 100 other boats, the school can maybe be half as size if there's only 10 boats fishing them, right? So, so where did you start off fishing this year for the tournament?
We started in Algoma, and we were on some nice fish, nothing too crazy, Had a good program going, but we got blown off, I think, the first day, midday, and then we went to Sheboygan that evening when it calmed back down and stuck one of our big ones there on a meat rig. But
I remember that particular night because I think you had sent me a message, said you were coming here. What did you catch that one on?
It was green jeans, fish paddle, the big one, with muscle head, a yellow meat rig. I can't remember the exact name of it, but...
And that was maybe like a 27, if I remember right, or something like that? Or how big was that? 27? Yeah, I got a good memory.
Our second biggest fish, I believe, yep.
So opening day, that was.
Yep.
You fished Algoma, didn't do very well, and then came down to Sheboygan and fished here for the evening and got like a 27-pounder. Where'd you go on Sunday?
So I looked at the wind, and the forecast I saw was pretty much just a crappy east wind for all of Wisconsin. So I'm instantly I'm going where I can fish, which was Michigan. And then the wind didn't even matter in the end, but that's what made me go up there, honestly, was the wind forecast. And
so you went to Fairport already the next day?
Yep.
Okay. So then did you fish Fairport the rest of the 7 days throughout the whole period, basically?
Yep. Okay. We stayed there for, I believe it was like 2.5 days before we weighed our first couple fish, and then went back for a day and a half or whatever we had left and finished her out and didn't get any upgrades the last go. But
And you haven't fished there before.
no.
So what did you do for homework going into it? Did you do anything to try to figure out where the fish might be? Did you talk to anybody? Was there anything in particular that you did that to try to figure anything out, or did you just go out there and was like, I'll use my electronics and find them?
I talked to a buddy who hasn't even fished up there, but he has friends up there, and he just kind of said, it's structure fishing around the islands.
Okay.
When he said that, it was a no-brainer for me. There's going to be bait and a lot of fish up there as long as they're there. And I think I'd also heard that there was a decent bite up there the weekend before that. So told me there.
Had shown me that, the fishing had been good up there as well. But I, too, have never fished there, so I wouldn't know where to start other than, again, looking for some structure, using my electronics to mark fish and/or, as I talk a lot about in my salmon schools, you should do your homework ahead of time, whether it be call the bait shops up there, maybe some guide friends or people that you can maybe get in contact with, or in your case, if you know somebody that knows somebody, can at least get a base to start, and that'll help you, obviously. If you're just tuning in now, this is Connor Bowen, the winner of the 2022 Salmon-Rama Big Five. We're kind of going through how that panned out for him and what exactly, went down that week. So let's talk a little bit about, so you caught your first big fish on a fish blade meat rig. When that happened, did you get real meat heavy for a couple days thinking that was the answer, or did you kind of have a program of a mix of stuff that you were running regardless sort of how the results were for that particular trip or day or whatever?
So I had like 2 or 3 other meat bites before that fish on the same rig, and to me that wasn't very good for the amount that I had ran the meat. So I was mainly the flasher fly program, and I just ran that exact flasher and meat rig, and up north did not get a single meat bite. So
and that's what's interesting is year in and year out, meat can be, and you know this now at this point because we've talked a lot about meat, and you really like fishing meat. Meat to me is either all in or all out. I mean, you'll get an occasional bite on it, but it seems like it's either the deal or it's not the deal at all. And for 2 years in a row now, it basically has not been the deal for me personally. Now, I know other guys, are catching them on it, but I was even surprised the water's gotten really warm here the last 2 weeks, and I've caught a couple fish on it, but it definitely has been getting outproduced by flashers and flies. So what other baits were working for you? I know that we've talked a lot about it, and I might not have them here, but you can obviously explain them, and the people at home can find them on some of the websites or whatever. But what color flashers, what color flies were working, and then maybe even go into some details if you had put a program together, or you kind of just throwing a multitude of different stuff out and letting them pick per day. Kind of walk through like what you were thinking during that week as you were trying to pick out some of these bigger fish.
Sure. So I pretty much just went up there with some of my usual starters, and I ended up running 5 dipsies and 1 rigger the whole time, because when you're fishing structure like that and there's other people around and you got all your boards out there too, and you're getting your big bites, you're gonna probably have some problems with tangles and stuff. I just took it as I'm getting my bites during my windows, I'm going to let them go and do their thing and hopefully land each fish. And I didn't have a tangle all tournament and got a lot of those big fish in. I still had some break-offs and everything, but
what in particular flasher patterns were working for you?
It was the Lance's UV two-face.
The chrome one?
Yep,
okay.
Chrome and Cryptotron.
Okay.
The chrome stud.
Yep.
And then the UV Dragon.
Yep.
Yep.
That one we talked a lot about during that week. That was getting hot right at that time. That particular flasher was super hot for me last year. It had a short window this year, but it was good for a week or 10 days, and it so happened to be kind of right in the middle of that Salmon-Rama time. So Cryptotron, which is new this year, UV Dragon, which has been a 2-year standby now. Lance's UV Two Face, which has been a standby for years, and Chrome Stud, which is a good one. So a lot of green in there.
Yep.
You know, some dots, but a lot of green. It sounds like chrome and green.
Yep.
You mentioned that chrome green jeans and a fish blade, so there's more chrome and green.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you tried white blades, green blades, stuff like that.
Yep.
Just didn't work.
Yep, got a couple fish here and there on stuff, but it was all literally those 4 took all the fish, and it was all illumination as far as the fly goes. We got a couple on that vision fly on the UV Dragon, but yeah, it was all illumination, all deep.
I've said for a long time, and I'll continue to say this, I think illumination is the best fly that's ever been made on the Great Lakes, in my opinion. I'm obviously slightly biased, but
sure.
There's been some great ones. Don't get me wrong. Green crinkle Howie fly back in the day has caught more fish than probably any other fly I'll ever catch. For variable reasons. There was more fish then and less options and yada yada. But I've been fishing flasher flies since probably '99, and I've never seen a fly that good. It just catches them all year round, in all conditions, all the time. There are definitely times where different flies are better, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit when I talk about my report. There's better flies right now than illumination, but it's still good, and it's still been good for us. So.
Right.
I was very intrigued and interested to hear that vision was good, because that's one I don't fish enough of, for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me, because the northern half of the lake has always loved white flies. So I always expected Vanilla Ice and Vision to be good in like Algoma, Sturgeon Bay, Bailey's, Fairport, Frankfurt, Manistee, stuff like that. I've always expected both Vision and Vanilla Ice to be good in that particular area. But overall illumination was the key for you. That was your best
100%.
deal. No spoons, obviously.
No.
You're not really a big spoon guy to begin with, right?
I flirted with them. I always do up north, especially if the water's cold, and it just wasn't happening.
Okay. Let's revert back now a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on right now for you. So I know that you've been doing a little casting and jigging. Maybe talk about that. Now, I'm sure with the north wind, maybe that slowed down a little bit or something. I don't know. I guess we haven't communicated probably a lot since they were a lot of fish out front. I think that's thinned out a little bit. But maybe, let's talk about kind of what you were doing for that. That's kind of what's probably upcoming for you specifically, and kind of how you do that. And, if anybody's interested in doing something like that with you, how they could maybe get a hold of you to do that.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the water warmed up a bit, and a lot of the fish did move out. There are some first wave fish hanging around, that are already getting a tan and everything. We got 3 of them this morning jigging. But, if you guys are interested in booking a trip, you can get a hold of me on Facebook or on my phone, 608-921-9690.
Now, when you're doing this jigging thing or casting thing, are you using electronics to find a school of fish, or are you specifically trying to find humps or rocks or things outside or inside of the pier heads that they're just holding to?
We're fishing around the gaps and outside the pier heads looking for pods of fish on the side imaging, and I just got a live scope that I'll be using now too. So you find the schools of fish, you either get on top of them or cast at them if they're up high and spooky, and rip jig it back in, and there's nothing like it once you get one.
Yeah, it seems like a really ton of fun. It's definitely catching on. I've been doing this since, I can remember now, for over 30 years, probably since I was 5 or 6, so probably about 35 years. And there was no way back in the 90s and early 2000s you could have got away with jigging outside the harbor. I mean, the charter boats and the trolling boats would just go berserko, but it's now becoming sort of the norm. And I mean, the entire time that the fish were out front here the last couple of weeks prior to all this north wind, there was 3, 4 boats, 5 boats a day out of Sheboygan doing it. And I seen them catching some fish, and it looked like they were catching some giants and having a ton of fun, and it looks like a blast. I mean, when you hook up one of them big kings on a spinning rod, it's probably hard to beat that that excitement. So definitely something that's fun. As far as you doing charter trips now, again, I mentioned that I see you all over the place. So obviously in the spring you head down south and fish the coho program.
Yep.
Do you generally get down to Racine and Kenosha much, or do you kind of just start when it gets to Milwaukee? I know I've seen you down there a little bit.
I'll go to Racine pretty much whenever, because I've got friends down there I can stay with and everything, and the bite gets really good there first, obviously. So.
And then you'll just work your way up as the hot school comes up.
Yep. Yep. And I still do some post-spawn walleye stuff, around the coho time. But then end of May, Port Washington, Milwaukee, when the kings show up there, that's when I really start kingfishing.
Yeah, you and I have a similar passion in that, and to be truthful, there's not a lot of us left like that, but that we really, really love fishing kings. There's a lot of guys that just love catching fish, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I'm all for that. I'd actually rather promote going out there and just having fun and catching fish and not worrying about so much what's on the other end. But you and I are very similar in the sense we'd rather go get 2 bites and have them be 20 pounders than get 20 bites and have them be, 5 pounders. So,
right.
I know that you like to chase those bigger kings. You did a TV show with, what is it, In Depth Outdoors, right?
Yep.
A year or two ago. That's a popular view, I think, on YouTube. How was that to do? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
It's interesting. I've done a few of those TV shows. It's a little nerve-wracking because you just never know how they're going to work out, right? I mean,
yep.
There's no real rewinding that situation, right? I mean, that's going to be documented on TV / on the internet for basically ever. So if you can make any magic happen, it's always going to be out there. I remember when I did the one with the Next Bite guys, and we caught a couple giants there. I mean, it was obviously a blast. We had a ton of fun doing it, but if you can make a few things happen during that thing, it's a lot of fun. It looked like you guys caught some big fish for that.
Yeah, we caught a lot of fish, some big fish, and lost big ones. It was one of those days you could just keep trolling north and never stop hitting fish. So
yeah, it's nice to have one of those really good days when the lights are on, right? You were picking a couple of these up. I'm going to talk about these for a second. Then I think I'm going to go into the current fishing report, and then Connor and I will probably co-take some questions if you got them. But I just picked up today at Doc's Customs. He just got done the last few colors of the new T-bones that I've been sort of chirping about. This fall fishing's coming. It's not, it's going to happen whether we like it or not. Labor Day weekend's coming, and it's coming every weekend, one weekend closer.
Yep.
So the fall run of plugs, gaudy glow spoons, and then my favorite, which is crankbaits on planer boards for fall kings, and or casting crankbaits if you want to fish from shore or in a boat, is coming. And when Doc over at Doc's Custom said, hey, I want to do a deep junior thunderstick type bait, I know you absolutely love those, that's your favorite bait, help me with some colors. He had some ideas for walleye fishing, and so did I, and we used them, and they were great. But then I told him there's some that we just got to have for fishing. And since we've talked about him here a couple of weeks ago, he was able to get these finished for me to have some samples to show you guys. And I think here's the deal with these. He's going to have a limited supply, I believe, next weekend, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Not this coming weekend, next weekend. So if you're looking to get some of these T-bones in the really, really good colors, you're going to want to keep track of the Doc's Custom Crankbaits website. You can go on there now, actually, and click Notify Me on any of the colors that are out of stock, and it'll give you an email immediately when he uploads them. But that'll also give him sort of an idea on how many of each color he needs. So this one here is Blue Dynamite, which to me is like a blue fire tiger, which is always really, really good for me in the gap, as I call it, like you call it, harbor fishing. This one was a must-have, I told him, which was a glitter fire tiger. That's always been one of my best. Storm used to make the original Storms. They made a regular fire tiger and a glitter one, and I always seem to do a little better on the glitter one for whatever particular reason. Then we got a couple of salmon candy type colors. Glow Booger Nose, which I'm sure will be crazy good. So this one actually glows in the dark. Glow Bloody Nose, which I'm sure that one will be really, really good. That one glows in the dark. Frozen Nose. I'm getting my own names wrong. Glow Frozen Nose. So that one glows. And then the last one I told him we got to have, which is the number one of all time thunderstick, which is the Glow Green Herringbone. So that group there that I just showed you, on top of colors like Lucky Charm, Wonder Bread, Geo's Dream, which is on my keychain. Some of those colors are must-haves for that fall fishing. And as I said, you're going to be able to do a couple different things with those. Guys cast those off of shore, off the piers, off the rocks, off of shore. You're going to be able to cast those in the boat with customers like you got. I know you want some of these. You're going to be able to cast those when they want that aggressive, noisy, you know, aggressive crankbait versus a piece of plastic or something like that.
Right.
There's definitely going to be times where they're going to prefer, this style of bait. You can cast them from the boat, and then also, obviously, you control them, which is what a lot of guys will do, and they work really, really good. And they also work great for walleyes. So that's kind of the nice part. You're kind of buying a double-edged sword. Like, you buy a color like, glitter fire tiger, or, the blue dynamite, I think he calls it. I'd call it a blue tiger. You'll be able to take them to the bay and places like that, catch fish on them all day long.
Right.
So those are really, really good baits. Have you done a lot of trolling of cranks around the harbor areas in the past?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite ways to fish them. I love fishing like the Sheboygan Harbor. I'm heading over this weekend to Manistee for the 333 tournament over there.
Mm-hmm.
The water's obviously ice cold over there because it's warm here. I expect that we'll probably be fishing the pier heads over there, very possibly, and I will have these along, as this already could be a program over there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is.
To catch some of them big hogs. One of the big advantages too, unlike any of the like store-bought crankbaits, is that he's putting a better hook on there. Now, don't get me wrong, when you have a bait this size, you can only go so big and so heavy on the hook to get it to still run right. Yep. Not by any means saying a 20-pound king or a 25-pound king isn't going to break or straighten that hook, but this particular hook will have a much better shot than a store-bought and stock lure.
Right.
It just will. It's a beefier, more solid hook than what you're going to buy on a flicker shad, a flicker minnow, a regular thunder stick, a bomber, any of that kind of stuff. So It's nice. You're not going to have to change those out. It's got a beefy hook on it already. You just got to take it pretty easy with those fish. So as far as the current fishing report, it's kind of crazy to say. Every year when I do salmon schools, I tell guys that one of the things that always drives me a little nuts is we all get so excited for fishing, all of us, and I do the same thing, that we hit it so hard early, we run out of gas late, right? And every year, August brings great fishing. Now, the last couple of years, for Sheboygan in particularly, and I think up and down the shoreline for the most part, August has brought fantastic out deep mixed bag fishing. And we got that right now. You can go from 240 all the way out to 400 right now out of Sheboygan and catch really nice cohos, steelhead, occasional lake trout, occasional king, and have a really nice catch. But if you haven't been out lately, I have to say you're absolutely missing out. The best king fishing for the year for me has been in the last week. By far, bar none, out of Sheboygan, the best king fishing's been the last week. I was out last night with a group of guys, and we had 10 kings and 2 pinks. I fished the Sheboygan Coho Derby basically for 9 days. They had what they call the Big 9, sort of a knockoff of the Big 5, but 9 days, your Big 9 fish. We took second place. We lost by a half a pound. Crazy, over 9 days, you weigh 9 fish, and it was like the winner, who's Salmon Hunter, who's parked right over here, a buddy of mine, Brad from Salmon Hunter, he had like 198.58 pounds for 9, and we had 198.05 or something for 9. Yeah. So we lost literally by a half a pound in that Big 9. But they also had the super tournament last weekend, the 2-day event where you weigh 5 a day, and we won that. We had 5 on Saturday for... We had 5 on Saturday for 99 pounds and change, and then Sunday got canceled, unfortunately, because of the big wind. I'd like to got one more shot to get out there and try to... We knew we were down a half a pound, obviously, on Saturday in the Big 9, so it's like, boy, if we could get out there one more time, we'd have a shot to sort of hit the double winner here, the double whammy. But it didn't work out that way. So we were happy to take second place in the Big 9. Congratulations to Salmon Hunter for winning that, and we were happy to win that Coho Derby. Whenever you can go out there, and it was rough. It was 6+ foot waves on Saturday by 8 a.m. Whenever you can go out there and catch 99 pounds for 5 kings and 6 foot waves, they're biting.
Right.
It was good.
Yeah.
Big fish, lots of fish, and and we lost a couple hogs, and you're going to have that in big waves. That. Like you said, you're going to have break-offs, you're going to have losses. We just lost a couple. So I want to talk a little bit about what's been working lately, and it's something that I haven't seen quite as much on this particular specific in a long time, But basically, you can probably tell when I hold this up, the pattern isn't super complicated. Pretty much put out as much green as you want, right? There's a couple of other flashers working right now, but basically everything is working right now as long as it's green. Everything.
Yeah.
So, Chrome Bam is one of the ones I don't have sitting here because we snapped ours off. That's working. Songin's Chrome Bam, and that's actually was Salmon Hunter's hottest rod. Songin's Green Bam has been absolutely lights out for us. We have another version of the Bam coming that's been absolutely lights out that I unfortunately can't show right now because Salmon Candy's getting copied just ridiculously right now. So I can't show that, but it's coming. Probably the overall hottest flasher out of Sheboygan right now is an old standby, Marv's Big Fatty. Hard to beat this sucker. See that hot fly back there, you probably like that.
Oh, yeah.
Marv's Big Fatty has been just on fire. I know the boat that took second place, Captain Schnook, congratulations to them in the super tournament. I think they had like 94 or 95 pounds. When they came in and weighed their fish, we had just weighed right in front of them, so I was standing there waiting to weigh ours. And I saw them pull up to the dock, and they had at least 3 of these, I think, hanging on rods. It might have been 4. So, there's no doubt that dots were working, and obviously green blades were working. But if you're going to get out in Sheboygan right now, you want to catch some kings, this is the place to be. I don't know exactly what's going up and down the other shorelines because I haven't been fishing a lot of other places. Sort of been fishing here, and now I'm getting ready to go to Michigan. So I honestly don't know how Sturgeon Bay has been, or Bailey's or Algoma or even Port, and I'm usually really in tune there. But I know Sheboygan is red hot right now, and it's basically been about 120 to 150 foot of water, anywhere from the power plant, which is just south, all the way to the golf course. There's like a 9-mile stretch of fish right now, and you can catch them all the way through there. We went on our trip last night, and we trolled from straight out to 3/4 of the way to the golf course and back to halfway straight out. And like I said, we had 10 kings, 4 over 20, 5 adults, a 25, a 23. It's just an absolute bloodbath.
Oh, yeah.
And had a ton of fun. I missed a few, as you always do. One for sure, maybe 2. But Marv's Big Fatty, Chrome Songins, Green Songins, and then I don't get it, man. This has got to be the all-time ugliest flasher I've ever seen in my life. But my buddy Nate, who I own the fish sticks with, this is his flasher. And whenever the water gets piss warm, super warm, as I call it, piss warm, Nate's stream scale is hot. And this is what got her a big one on Saturday for the super tournament. And you see what's on there. Brad's 21, which we've talked about, is one of those flies that just isn't used enough by guys. That's the Brad's 21 fly. It's got a little bit different tint to it than like the Illumination and the Novocaine and the Doughboy. Kind of, to me, it's more of a mix of a Doughboy and a Novocaine. Kind of a mix between the two. And it's got more green in it, than the other flies do.
Yep.
So whenever the water gets really warm, I really like green flies.
Yep.
And this particular fly, was really, really good. Now I'm going to show you one that's just kind of weird, but this is a No Mercy that I picked all the UV out of. So when it got cloudy on Saturday for the super tournament, it seemed like they didn't want real bright flies. Songin's Bam was my hottest flasher. Songin's Bam with an Illumination on it was my hottest flasher all week for the 9-day deal. I don't know if you were out at all Saturday, probably not. It was ugly, but it was storming, lightning, raining the entire time, and really dark. They just didn't get touched. It was getting 2, 3, 4-year-old bites a trip for me. It was by far my hottest blade. Never got touched. So I thought to myself, it's got to be too shiny. So I ripped the UV out of a No Mercy that I had on this green bladed Mountain Dew stud, and this thing was good. Would I suggest ripping apart all your flies? Probably not, but it was something that I just wanted to do to see, what the result was going to be,
right.
And that's what worked for me. So the current fishing report is big kings, a good amount of kings, mixed sizes of kings, occasional pink, occasional coho, and they're coming on a lot of green flashers, Chrome Songins, and a lot of green flies. Brad's 21, No Mercy, Illumination, some of the real hot ones, and they're biting from about 60 to 120 down. They're deep. We're catching them on wire divers out 170 to 200. 300 coppers, 350 or 375 coppers, 450 coppers. Not fun rods to reel them in on really, and then riggers down like 70 to 120 basically. Sure. Those are the rods that are working right now, and what's working for us out of Sheboygan. I'm getting ready to get out of here either tomorrow afternoon or Thursday morning to run over to Manistee and do that. The monster they call it over there. So that'll be fun. Are you going to get out any more this week or weekend?
I got trips all weekend, so probably be jigging. If I had to guess, maybe stage trolling, but.
Where are you going to be doing those, on Milwaukee or Port or?
I honestly don't know. It just depends where the best bite is. It literally where the most fish show up at, or where they're actually biting, depending on water temp and all that. So we'll see.
Okay. Couple other things to talk about before we maybe take some questions. Any of this product that you see here, the flashers, the flies, stuff like that, www.salmoncandyfishing.com. That's where you can get some of that stuff. This is Doc's custom crankbaits. As I said, he's just getting these blanks in, so he's going to make a bunch of them up so everybody can get some at the same time. And these should be available next week/weekend. So get on Doc's Custom Crankbaits and hit that notify me button on your favorite colors that you want to make sure you get, so he's got a good idea on how many to make. And I'll try to help make an announcement on Facebook when these are available. I'm really excited for next year. I got some really hot new stuff coming. Some of the best stuff that I think I've ever developed. Year in and year out, I get excited, but this particular year, I'm really excited. I showed you this before, or you saw this before. This thing has been on fire on Lake Ontario. It's been on fire on Lake Michigan. It's just been good. I'm super excited about that. Super excited about some of the paddle colors we got. We got a couple new spoon colors. You've obviously been an integral part of helping with Salmon Candy the last couple of years, running our stuff, testing our stuff, talking about our stuff, so we appreciate that. Last thing I wanted to mention before we feather some questions here is that I am starting to put some of my salmon schools up. Maybe I can even convince this guy to come to one or two of them, maybe the Appleton one or the Sheboygan one. Maybe I can get him over for an hour or two. I'm putting him on the spot here, but we'll see what the dates look like and maybe get him over to talk a little salmon fishing during that time. But www.russellsfishingtech.net is where you can sign up for the salmon schools. There's already 3 or 4 listed. There's going to be 8 or 9 total, if not more. Going to be a couple in Michigan. There's going to be a couple in Wisconsin. There's going to be probably a couple in New York. But already there's an Appleton school. There's a Sheboygan school. There's an Ishpeming, Michigan school. I think we got a Superior school coming. Likely going to be like a Manistee and maybe like a Holland school or something like that. There'll be a Chicago school again. And I'm looking at a few New York locations and stuff. So I would get signed up for that as soon as possible. We're going to definitely take care of those guys that get signed up early and give them some interesting raffles and things at the events. That would be really, really fun and looking forward to. So again, www.russellsfishingtech.net if you want to get signed up for the schools. Doc's Custom Crankbaits for the T-bones, and salmoncandyfishing.com for any of this stuff. Get a hold of Connor if you want to get out there and get jigging. He's going to be doing a lot of that jigging and harbor patrol here for the next couple months. And then last but not least, if you guys got some questions, now would be the time to fire them out for either Connor or myself. If they're specific to one of us, you can mention that. Otherwise, both of us can try to attack it and give you sort of our feedback. But it's been great to have him on. We're having a great turnout tonight. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. But now will be a great time to ask a few questions, and let's get some things going. Oh, there you go. Jeff wants to know what setup you use for jigging.
I use a medium heavy 7-foot with a 10-pound braid to a 20-pound leader, just for the castability. With that 10-pound, you can run 15 or even 20 if you want to not ever break off. I'm just not too worried about it with a good drag.
Somebody asked what size boat you have.
It's a 17.5, runs like an 18. It's nice and wide and tall.
And that's what I was saying before. Like, some people would say, well, he's got a smaller boat. How do you win a tournament in that? You used it to your advantage. That's the advantage, right? You can put the guys on the fish. So Scott wants to know if we got any suggestions for port the next few days. From what I've been told and have heard a little bit I've asked is port sounds like it's similar to Sheboygan, maybe a touch shallower, like 80 to 150. So pretty similar. I'd be using the same stuff. If I went out there, I'd have a lot of green flashers on, a couple of chrome flashers. White has been slow this year. It's weird. White has just not been that great. Normally white should be really hot right now. It hasn't been. It's been particularly green or chrome. So that guy wanted to know if Larry asked if you transition from like glow spoons in the morning to flashers and flies, or sort of what is your starting setup? Maybe go over that when you head out. Like if you were gonna go out trolling out of Sheboygan tomorrow morning, what would be your kind of starting setup for a mix of spoons versus flasher flies, glow, not glow, any of that kind of stuff?
Pretty much right away in the morning. I mean, whether you're jigging, trolling, whatever, glow is good. It's always good, and it doesn't even have to be completely dark. You know, as long as it's low light, glow seems to be king. But as soon as that sun starts peeking out, I definitely switch over to, you know, if we have dirty water, jigging, I like golds and greens and stuff like that. Trolling, you know, start getting flashy with it. But yeah.
More shiny stuff. Yeah, I'm not a giant glow proponent. I use it, don't get me wrong, especially in the dirty water around the harbor areas and stuff. I've just never been one that likes to really like flash it up and make it bright.
Oh yeah.
I think that ends up making it gaudy, and really stands out as almost a negative, right? Because I mean, think about it to the fish's perspective. You want them to see it, but you don't want it to be obnoxious, because what alewife have they ever seen that glows in the dark, right? So you do want it to catch their attention and curiosity, but I feel like if it's too bright and gaudy, it's not that great. So I like a good glow that lasts long, but I don't like to charge it up with the super big charger and everything else that just makes it really stand out too much. So what I like to do is just kind of get it away from a light a little bit. You know, if the light would be like right here, I'd get it away from the light, like maybe down here or something, get a little glow on it, and then get it out there. And usually that works pretty well for me. Yep. But like you said, if you're in dirty water, like in the harbor type areas, you can catch them on glow all day long. Now, if you're out in the lake, in more of that cleaner water, then you want more of the shinier stuff later in the morning, you know, once the sun comes out. So go ahead and fire some more questions. We're obviously not going to catch every one of them while we're answering some of these. We might miss them, so if we miss it, feel free to ask it again. We're going to do our best here. We got a little bit of time yet. We can still answer a few more. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, and make sure you're smashing that subscribe button on the Russell's Fishing Tech YouTube page. That's how everybody gets notifications to let you know that we are on. Boy, is it hot here. Please explain why you think green works so well. Todd. This is like one of my forte salmon school type things that I talk a lot about. So without going into a ton of detail, because I've got videos on it and stuff as well, my basic theory is this. Early in the season, May and June, the fish they're in a feeding mode. So chrome flashers seem to work better, shiny spoons seem to work better, stuff like that, because it's a natural feeding thing. They're actually biting that lure and feeding. Now when we're attacking these adult salmon, and it's adult salmon in particular that I'm talking about, now that we're attacking these adult salmon, I feel like at this point they're biting more out of aggression. I don't think they've ever seen a bloody nose alewife before. No. At least that I'm aware of. So that when they bite something like this, I don't think they're going up to it and going, yeah, that looks like a healthy snack. They're biting that out of aggression. So that's where I feel like things like the, Nate's Dream Scale and the green-bladed, Mountain Dew Stud, these are more aggressive patterns. I've talked a lot about that with like Two-Face and stuff like that. I think that's an aggressive pattern. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't work in June, but this is more of a July and August pattern. When those fish are aggressive, they're looking for something gaudy, and they're biting out of either reaction or to kill it more than they are out of hunger. Right. So that's why I've always said chrome early in the season, green blades, white blades, black blades. Black is something that's super underused. It's heavily used in the Michigan market. It's used a lot on Lake Ontario. Black flashers work really, really well late in the year as well. Any more questions? Got a lot of guys out there, 125 guys and gals. Feel free to ask Connor or myself any questions. Like I said, you can put on there if it's for him or I, or otherwise both of us will probably touch on it. That was a good time because we got a few minutes left here before Connor probably has to get on his way home. That one's for you. What's your
go-to jigging bait? P-line laser minnows. some saltwater spoons, miscellaneous brands out there. But as far as going vertical, I like those jigging spoons, Castmasters, more so for actually casting it out.
Thomas asked if the fleas are still around. Yes, they're still around. The water's really, really warm. Somebody else asked if you only had 1 week to come and fish, when would it be? I'd have to have more information on that. Where do you want to fish? Because that's going to make a big difference. If you're going to say, I'm going to fish Racine or Kenosha, or you're going to say, I'm going to fish Sheboygan, or you're going to say, I'm going to fish Sturgeon Bay, that week would be different. What do you guys run your wire dipsies on for a setting when running that deep? 1.5 is what I run my inside divers at. What do you run yours at?
All tournament, my 5 dipsies spread was 3, 1.5, rigger, 0, 1.5, 3.
Yeah. So your inside diver in theory is 1.5.
Yeah.
Same as us.
Yeah.
And that, so like right now, like my best has been 201 out on a 1.5. That's been my best rod. How shallow should we start fishing in the early morning? Like if you're going out of Sheboygan right now, I'd set up in 80 to 100 and troll out. What's your go-to 6-rod spread right now? Dipsy, rigger, lead core. Lead core is probably not going to work for you real well right now because the fish are down pretty deep. As I said before, you're going to want deeper diving dipsies, so Magnum dipsies, way out, and riggers in that 70 to 100. So if I was running a 6-rod spread right now, probably would run 2 riggers, 2 mag divers, either on wire or braid, and like a 300 and a 450 copper, or a 300 and a 375 copper. That would be my go-to. Somebody asked on there, what depths were you targeting in Fairport?
It was pretty much 80 to 100, just off the steep breaks there on the islands.
Any other questions? Oh, which week in Sheboygan, Bob? Probably the 2nd or 3rd week in June, believe it or not. Like I said, now, August has been good historically, but if you're looking to come here and chase kings, this year was an oddity. We had a little bit of a tougher June, and this is the first year I can remember in a lot of years that August has been this good here in Sheboygan for kings. But June, mid-June is usually really, really good. Yeah. Yeah, right, Doc. If you're going to come this fall, Bob, I would say Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend is almost always a guarantee that there will be some fish around. Sometimes it's a little early, sometimes it's a little late.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, so fishing around the pier heads was really, really good, like a week and a half ago. There's obviously some stagers left, some big ones that are stuck in there now in the warm water, and they're just staying there. And every day that goes by, regardless of the water temperature, they're going to work their way closer and closer to the harbor, and some will even work their way into the harbor. But now what we're looking for, if you're looking for that, is a big southeast blow or west blow.
Yep.
Fish are all in the warm water right now, Chuck. It's really, really warm. I think we had 57 down 71 last night, out in 150. So, it's warm.
And I might even have that around the piers on bottom. So, yeah.
He wants to know what brand net you use.
Beckman.
Yeah, that's what I use as well, Beckman. I think it's the only real net left. Not taking shots at any other brands. I'm just saying I think a lot of the other brands are multi-species at this point. They're selling bass nets, walleye nets. They're just not making the durability you need if you're gonna, you're gonna hoist 25-pound kings in.
Yeah.
There isn't another net out there making something that's got that kind of durability.
Second place, I would say, is Ranger on that one probably for net. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Connor or myself before we get off here? We've had a good night, 128 live right now. We've been upwards of 140 at times. Remember, hit that thumbs up button. Also remember to subscribe to the Russell's Fishing Tech page. Hypervis tape. Never used it. I've heard a couple people talk about it. To me, it looks like a glittery type tape. I've never done super well on glitter tapes, but I see some guys talking about it now. No problem. We enjoy the live thing. Sorry I missed last week. It's been a crazy, hectic deal. No doubt about it. Between tournament fishing and charter fishing, and kids are running around like crazy animals. Speaking of that, don't you have like one of those kid things? Isn't that like a big Facebook official announcement I heard now?
End of February.
End of February. Connor's got a kid coming. Yep, life's about over for you, buddy. You're going to find out what it's like now.
At least fishing's my job.
Yep. Thanks for all the info. Salmon Candy rules. Thank you. Anyone been out of Algoma lately? Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people out of Algoma. Have you heard any reports up there at all?
Just haven't talked to anyone. I'm sure it's good.
I would imagine it's got to be pretty decent. I do know that Sturgeon Bay's still been good. Great info. Can torpedo setups work to get the planers deep? Yeah, you could use the 12-ounce torpedo and let out a lot of line. You'll get down to where the fish are. Matt, J-plugs and cranks both work. For the fall kings, and they have their particular days. What I like is I like J-plugs on the downriggers and the slide divers, and then the cranks on the planer boards. That's really my kind of go-to setup. Once in a while, I'll run a J-plug on like a one color or something, but in particular, I like the cranks on the boards.
I typically myself run like all plugs or all cranks or all spoons when I do that, and I actually catch a ton. Like all my fish, I'll have days where I run 2 long lines behind the boat, and that's all I run, and I have like 20-30 fish days trolling that way.
We had back-to-back Toms. Thomas Hewer, who's a great customer of mine, both from the store and from Fish Stick for chartering. I hope I got it right. I think he asked how many people you could take on your trips.
I take up to 3 people.
Up to 3, okay.
Yep.
And then there was another Tom that said he's coming to Sheboygan tomorrow with only 3 rods. What would I run? I would run 1 rigger, 1 wire dipsy or braid dipsy deep, and then whatever the deepest copper you basically got is, a 300, a 375, a 450, whatever it is, I'd run a deep copper.
Yep.
That'd be the 3 rods I would run if I was going out tomorrow. There's your children for you. That's one of my daughters Facebook messaging me right now wanting to know if we can have pizza for dinner. So yeah, that's what you got to look forward to. She's 17, so I'm almost done already. You're on the back end of this deal, buddy. So I got 17, 15, 13. They're looking for pizza. Yours is just going to be getting ready to come here. So Frankfurt has been hot. Good. I hope Frankfurt stays. I'll be in Frankfurt. Not this coming weekend, the following weekend. So if you got any hot reports for me, throw them over. I'd love to hear it because I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks in Michigan. It should be a lot of fun. Oh yeah, Doc's got number 4 on the way, and he's as old as I am, so he's starting over. I give him credit. He's 40 years old, and he's starting fresh. So he's gonna have a lot of fun. I get to play uncle and all those kinds of fun things now. So that's just good enough for me. Any more questions for Connor and I before we literally rocket out of this thing that's like a sauna in here in the Vendetta 2.0? Craig's got 4. Yeah, time goes fast. All of a sudden we get all these kids. James says he's done with 6 grandkids, number 6. Yeah, Jim, you're old, buddy. I've known Jim a long time. Good dude. Any more questions? All right, well, one more time, thanks for Connor for coming. I'll try to get a few more guests on. I'm going to twist his arm, see if I can maybe get him. He's got baby coming in February, but maybe I can get him to either some of the January or March salmon schools before his girlfriend locks him down forever. And see if maybe I can get him to come to 1 or 2 and talk a little bit about small boat king fishing, things like that I think he has some real knowledge on. If you want to sign up for the salmon schools, get on there now and sign up at www.russellsfishingtech.net. We'll be adding schools on there all throughout the late summer and early fall here for this off season. If you're looking to get some of the hottest stuff, we got really good fishing left. I'm actually excited. I think it's going to be one of the better falls we've had in a long time. There's a lot of big kings around. A lot of them for this time of year. Last how many years we lost them to Michigan? I think it's pretty late. I don't think we're going to lose them. So it could be a ton of fun here coming up over the next month for this both trolling and casting and jigging bite. And then again, get on Doc's Custom Crankbaits. Hit the notify me button on your favorite colors so that Doc can paint them up next week, and he makes sure that he's got the best color selection available for you guys. And then I'll push this thing out and let you know when they're ready so everybody can get them. I'm going to be taking these with me to Manistee, and I'll be posting some pictures if we get a chance to use them and catch any big kings on them so you guys know. One last time, thanks to Connor for coming. We're going to get out of here at this point, and I appreciate everybody. I'll go live next week. I'll let you know if it's Monday or Tuesday. Our counterpart, I guess, if you want to say, Tangled Tackle, keeps switching their days. I'm trying not to step on their toes, but pretty soon I'm just going to pick my day and time because he keeps switching, and he's on top of us, it seems like. So a lot of green or black blades this season. Would blue dots work early? Yeah, we've done okay on some blue dot stuff in like June before. We have made some flashers over the years with blue dots. Those can definitely have their days, but it seems like black and green this year, late in the year especially, has been good. So one last time, Russell from Russell's Fishing Tech, Connor Bowen. If you want to book a fishing trip and chase after big kings, get a hold of him. Make sure you find Russell's Fishing Tech on YouTube. Thanks.